Hello, my beautiful people. How are you guys doing today? Ryan Hamer here. I am your favorite Canadian credit coach for Canadians and beyond. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about something that something I come across a lot in forums, and people ask me. I'm the go-to guy for credit questions for my friends and family, and of course clients and whatnot. And one of the common things that keeps coming up is, if I have a credit card and I close it, is it going to hurt me? And also, people fall into this habit all the time. They make this same mistake. What happens is they have a dispute with the bank, a bank teller, somebody on the phone, customer service. They didn't get that credit increase or something like that. And it's something small and trivial, something that they can get over when they cool off. However, more often than not, people get so upset that they will say, you know what, forget this bank, I'll show them. And what do? They cancel the credit card. They cut up the credit card, or they call to cancel the credit card, thinking that they are harming the bank, thinking, I'll show them. Look, you're a small fry. You are one single solitary customer. And it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. It doesn't matter how many lines of credit or whatever you have with the bank. It doesn't matter how large your mortgage is. You are one customer. Not that you're not important, mind you, but in the grand scheme of things, you are but a pebble in the ocean, a grain of sand by the sea. So you take your talents to South Beach and take your account somewhere else, and you think you're making a big dent or difference. Well, you know that saying about a fool being born every minute? You are replaceable, sadly. And the thing about it is, it's not about what they haven't done for you and what you can do for them, because they're losing your business. No, can't look at it like that, and you shouldn't look at it like that. You got to look at it like this. What can they do for you? And how can you manipulate your situation to your advantage? How can you stack the deck in your favor? How can you make it work for you? All right? So you hear me talk a lot about credit clarity and why it's important to have the right mindset. And it's important to have the right mindset, not just when you have money, earn money, accumulate money, inherit money, but it's also equally important when you receive credit, when you achieve credit greatness, when you achieve a great credit score, when you achieve a great credit profile. So a lot of times you'll go to the bank and try to get that credit limit increase on a credit card, or a credit card, for example, and you get denied. So people get upset and they say, I'll take my business elsewhere. Well, ask yourself a couple of questions. What is my credit score? Is there anything outstanding with regards to a derogatory account? When's the last time I declared bankruptcy or had a consumer proposal, if at all? Am I making the regular or minimum payments to my financial obligations, such as installment loans or revolving accounts? So installment loans are your car loans and any other private loans that you may have with the bank or what have you. The other question is, what are you doing with respect to your lines of credit and credit cards? That's your revolving accounts. Are you making the minimum payments? And what are the balances with regards to those accounts? Also, how often are you applying for credit? Right? So these are factors that come into play with respect to why you may be denied an increase or at all some credit. Another thing is, when was the last time that you applied for credit? So if you applied for credit at 3 different banks last week, then you got to understand it's going to be an issue. Okay? Also, having the right understanding that if you don't have the right mix of credit, so if you don't have a couple of revolving accounts, if you don't have a couple of installment loans, then that could be an issue. That could have been a reason why you were denied. If you're waiting too long on hold for customer service, that's not a reason for you to cancel your account. So remember, if you can create the right profile, then maybe you might get what you're looking for, but it takes time and patience. Also, the other issue is if you have, say, a line of credit or you have a credit card and you're trying to get an increase and they deny you right now, it's not no forever, it's just no now. It's not no forever unless it's Capital One. I have my issues with Capital One, but that's a whole other story. We'll get into that another time. But the fact of the matter is, you already have a relationship with your financial institution, and leverage that. Use that to your advantage and don't take it personally. The credit game is not a sprint game. It's a marathon. You're going to have to take your time. You're going to have to take your Charlie horses and your cramps, and you're going to have to take your minutes where you got to take a beat, drink some water, recuperate, and then continue on and figure out how you got to adjust your form, adjust your patterns so that you can move forward. So the reason why you don't want to, say you have a $5,000 credit card and you want to get them to increase it to $10,000, and they don't do it. They say no. You get upset and you go to cancel the card. What you are doing is, I want you to think of a pie, right? Think of a pie with 4 slices, and each slice is worth $5,000. So that's a total of $20,000. So each slice represents a different credit card with, say, four different banks, right? You decide, okay, you know what? In this bank, I don't know, I'm going to throw out one, TD. TD got me annoyed. I'm going to forget TD and I'm going to, cancel the account with them, whatever. Big mistake. Because when you do that, think of the pie. You're taking one of the slices of the pie and completely taking it off the plate. And now you only have 3 slices left. So that's 3 times 5, that's 15,000. So that means you only have $15,000 total of revolving credit. And what does that mean? Well, that means that, remember I said there are different factors that come into play when it comes to determining your credit worthiness and whatnot, and your ability to manage money. That's how the banks look at you. They look at your ability to manage money, your ability to handle money. So if you have 4 credit cards, each $5,000 each, and you're able to, they're all evenly spread out, or maybe you got one where the balance is, say, you've used up 4,000 of that credit card, and you have the other 3 credit cards where you haven't used them, you're good. So that means there's $16,000 available, as opposed to you take one of those cards out, that means there's only $15,000 available. So imagine now, if you took one of those cards out of the picture, then you're left with those 3 slices, right? One of the slices has $1,000 on it. So that means there's how much? That's right, $11,000 available in credit, like available to use. But your total amount of credit available to you is only $15,000, as opposed to the $20,000. Now, you canceled the card, right? You were mad. You canceled the card. So now you no longer have $20,000 available to you. You only have $15,000 available to you. But one of the cards is pretty much maxed out. So what they're going to do is they're going to do an average of the available balances on the available cards of the 3 cards. And that's where you run into problems, because say this one is maxed and you end up using the other one, and so on and so on and so on. your pool of available resources now shrinks. So the reason why you want to take the patient game, also remember the fact that it's not just a matter of how much you have available to you, it's also the length of time that you've had an account open that contributes to your score. So say you decide to close that one card that you've had for 15 years. I've had this account with them for 20 years, 15 to 20 years. I've had this account for a long time, and they wouldn't give me an increase because I wanted it. Well, I'll show them. I will cancel this card. My friends, do not do that. You don't want to cancel the card out of emotion, out of anger. You do that, then you limit, as I said, you limit the amount of money that you have available to you, what's showing, and also you're also killing your credit history, because there's also an average done based on the amount of years and months and whatever time you've had different accounts open. So if you've had a card that's been open for 15 years or 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, and that card has been in good standing, you've never missed a payment, you've always paid it on time, and you've rarely carried a balance, these are factors that come into play, right? So credit card companies also have seasons with regards to when they do pre-authorizations, when they do soft hits on your credit bureau report to see if you're worthy of a promotion that they have not yet advertised. And you might see an update or a notification within your bank account, or when you go to use the ATM machine, or you might get a letter in the mail or something like that, unadvertised. You had no idea it was coming, and you're blessed in that respect, and so you could accept it and then utilize the credit that way. But if you get upset and you cancel the credit card, then you miss out on that potential future opportunity. And you're limiting the amount of history that you have available, which contributes to your score, as well as the credit profile that we're talking about. So the credit profile, it's, there's so many different little things, intricacies that come into play that help you with regards to making sure that you're smiling your best and putting your best foot forward and shining the right way in the eyes of the financial institutions who are potentially going to lend to you. Don't get caught up on emotion, especially after you pay down or pay off a credit card or a revolving account. See, the revolving accounts are really, really important. So the revolving accounts are lines of credit and credit cards, right? You pay them down, you can use them again. Another mistake that a lot of people make is, once they pay down the line of credit, or once they pay down or off their credit card, they'll say, oh, you know what? Oh, thank God, I finished paying for this thing. I am going to close it. I'm going to cut up the credit card, and I'm not going to use it, and that's it. Great. There was an old commercial that said, banks are more apt to give you money if you look like you don't need it. And that is true to an extent, insofar as that if you're not maxing out your available credit, then they're apt to show that you know how to manage. It shows that you know how to manage money, and they're like, okay, we'll give this guy, he's not using it, so we'll give him more. The problem too is the reason why I said don't close it after you've paid it off is because if you're not using it whatsoever, then that shows that kind of it's lax debt. It shows that, okay, well, they're not using the card. Maybe he doesn't really need it. Maybe he doesn't need the credit, or you might look like you have too much credit, if that makes sense. So it's always good to, use your card and pay it off or down or whatever. And just because you paid it off, it doesn't mean that it's hurting you if you ever use it again. So that it's a fine balancing act, and it's a delicate act, and a lot of people don't understand or realize the intricacies of it. The banks and these financial institutions, they have crawlers that crawl your accounts and troll your accounts and they monitor your usage and monitor your ability to repay, your ability to use and repay, your ability to use the account without issue, without incurring late payments, and making sure that you're making your minimum payments and stuff like that. So they see how you're using the account. Don't close the account. So somebody else is going to say to me, well, Ryan, what if I'm not using it? Okay, fine. If you're not using it, that's fine. You also have to think about how this particular account contributes to your overall credit profile. If it's $1,000, if it's an account worth $1,000, then, fine. It's great if you don't use it. You don't worry about it. Just remember, use something else then within your, so if you have 5 credit cards and one is $1,000 and you decide that you don't want to use that one, it might seem like a single small amount, that $1,000, but if you've had that particular credit card for 20 years or 15 years, then that card itself is very important to your credit profile. And you canceling that card, you don't see it, but you canceling that card hinders your ability to show credit longevity. So if all the cards that you got within the last, you got within the last 4 to 5 years, and you had this one particular card that you've had for the last 20 or 15, then that card is extremely important in the credit mix because of the history that it shows and the age that it gives. Because what happens is there's an average of everything, right? So that 20-year-old card factors into the average that of your accounts. And the older the card, the older the account, the better off it is. So that's another thing that you need to consider. If you cancel that card, you could be cutting off you could be messing up your credit history as far as time length is concerned. If you cancel that card, you're missing out on future potential opportunities. If you cancel that card, you're doing so on emotion, and you're also messing up your average with regards to the amount of credit that you have, because that particular credit card could be for a larger amount, and you might want to go higher. But if you cancel the card, that also messes up your pool of available resources, which will mess you up based on your utilization of the other cards. I hope you found some of this information helpful, and this is one of the major reasons, these are some of the major reasons why you should not close a revolving account and how it can hurt you. A lot of times, banks and financial institutions and other people might not tell you this, but it's important that you keep your credit cards and your lines of credit active, and that you use them, and that you don't cancel them or close them based on anger, frustration, or something personal. Like, look, somebody at the bank got you angry, somebody on the phone got you angry with that financial institution, let it go. Just let it go. If it's an issue with regards to you losing money or something like that, and may say money was taken out of your account and they didn't want to pay you back, or something like that, I understand. Everyone has their issues. As Kenny Rogers said in The Gambler, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, know when to walk and know when to run, right? You got to pick your shots, and just make sure that the shot that you pick is well worth it. Because you don't want to make the mistake of hurting yourself and shooting yourself in the foot, so to speak. Because it's no sweat off their back. If you step up, you walk out. If you leave, you take your business elsewhere, it's no sweat off their back. And I understand pride gets into it, and people get all like, well, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to do it. But make sure it's worth it. Because it's a lot harder to acquire new credit from someone who doesn't know you at all, as opposed to improving the profile that you already have with someone else. Like the old saying, better the devil that you do know than the angel that you don't. Thanks again for listening. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, if you like what you heard, please feel free to click the like button, and also subscribe and tell a friend. My name is Ryan Hamer, and I will be providing you with additional content with anything to do about something that's near and dear to me, credit. All right, you guys have a good one, and thanks again for taking the time to watch. I appreciate you, and have a good one.